video, and in this video we're gonna be setting up a win condition. So we want a certain part in the level that our player crosses, and then when it crosses it, we can just load the next level. And we don't want to give any physical indication that they've crossed the level. We want it to be smooth. Like, we don't want our player to react when he crosses the level. Like, if he were to hit the collider or hit the place where he's crossing the level, we don't want him to bounce off or anything, right? So we can create a new empty game object. We can call this the finish, and it's in a decent position for me, so I think I'll just move it 1 on the Y. I think that should work. And all we have to do is we have to add a box collider. And if I were to double click on it in the hierarchy to focus, but as of right now, if our player hits this collider, it will physically react. When it hits it, it'll bounce off, or it will just react physically, and we don't want that because our player has a rigid body, that is. So instead, we're gonna make sure that this is a trigger collider. And now a trigger collider basically is a normal collider, but it will not react with any game object. And Unity has a built-in function that gets called anytime a collider crosses a trigger collider. And now I'll just scale this up. Let's make it like 5 on the X, or no, 7 on the X, 10 on the X. I think 10 should do. And 5 on the Y. And I'll just move it a little up. So now our player, whenever he crosses this obstacle, he will collide with this game object. And it is 100% that he will collide with this game object, because there are only 2 conditions if he will not. 1, either he falls off the map, or 2, he hits this obstacle. And I'll just make it a little fat. So I'll make it Z value maybe 5. There we go. Now it's got a nice fat trigger collider. And I'm gonna create a new script in my scripts folder. I'll create a new script, and I'll call this a finish script. And whenever it loads, there we go. So now I'll add this script onto my finish game object here. There we go. And I want to make sure that my player has a tag of player. And let me apply all of the changes that I've made. There we go. So now this player has been tagged player. Now I'll open the script up in Visual Studio, because Visual Studio Code is being a bit buggy, and I'm looking to fix that as soon as I can, whenever this decides to update. There, oh, not camera controller, please. Finish. There we go. And as I was saying, Unity has a built-in function for checking collisions with triggers. And just the way we have on collision enter, there's also an on trigger enter. Basically, anytime we collide with a trigger collider, this function gets called. And for now, I'm just gonna debug.log load next level. And now let's actually load the next level. So I'm gonna create a new function, private void load next level. But now we want this function to know which level to load, right? We don't want it to constantly load the same level over and over again. So we can give a serialized field private int, and we'll call this the build. I'll just say level to load. And if you're wondering why we're giving it an int, that's because we want to get the build index to load. We don't want to get the scene. And now here we can just say if other dot game object game. Okay, let me just game object dot compare tag, and we set our player to have the player tag. And if you're wondering why we gave our player a tag, because if one of the obstacles goes into this trigger and we don't give this if condition, then that obstacle will trigger the new scene load, and we don't want that. So we're just gonna do if other.gameObject.compare tag player, and then we're gonna do load next level, and we want our load next level to know which level to load, right? And we've already created an integer called level to load, but instead I'll pass in an int just to make the code neater. I'll pass in an int called build index. And now, as you can see, load next level requires a build index as a parameter, so here I'll just pass in level to load. And now here we can do scene manager, and just remember to using Unity engine.scene management. And now we can do scene manager dot load scene, and we just pass in build index, and it should be as easy as that. So if I were to hit save, head over back into Unity, head over into my finish, and add this finish script here, set its level to load 1. But there will be a little issue, because if I head over to my build settings, right now it will try to load scene index 1, but there's only one scene that we can load. So what I've done is I've created another scene. I've called it level 2. So I'll hit Command Shift B, and I'll drag level 2 in here. And now it should load level 2 because level 2 has the scene build index of 1. So if I were to hit play, whenever it decides to load, there we go. I'll move in front. No, it's W. Okay, oh god. I can't play my own game. Holy. For now, you know what? I'll just delete this obstacle. Or actually not delete, I'll just disable it. And so we can just hit W and just go straight into it. There we go, it's loaded level 2. That's very nice. And if you're wondering how I set up level 2, I'll head over to level 2. I just created a ground, a cube, and I've put it underneath the player, and I've attached the main cameras, the camera controller script to our player, and I've just given it a Y offset of 1 and a Z offset of -5. Yeah, and that's all I had in plan for this video. In the next video, we'll start creating levels and building the game. Alright, I'll see you there. Goodbye.